The morning after the handprint appeared, pointing unmistakably toward the well, I didn't move for hours. Wilson sat pressed against my side, ears flat, eyes darting toward every shadow in the room. The lantern's flame danced weakly, threatening to go out with every shiver of wind that brushed the cabin walls. The well, the cursed, forbidden well, seemed to call to me, not in a voice or any spoken words, but in the way the air outside pressed heavy and cold against the porch, like lungs trying to force me out the door. I kept telling myself I wouldn't go, that I'd follow the rules, that I'd survive, but I was lying. I had to know. When I finally stepped outside, the woods were quieter than usual. Too quiet. The trees stood like black sentinels against the gray sky. Wilson growled low, the sound vibrating through his chest as he refused to walk ahead of me. "Stay close," I whispered. "We're just checking something." We crossed the frost-covered ground slowly. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the soil itself were trying to hold me back. The well sat in its clearing, covered by the warped wooden slab I'd been told never to touch. Even from several feet away, cold rolled off it in waves. Wilson's hackles rose, and he pressed himself against my leg. His fear radiated through him, and I realized I felt the same. I knelt beside the well, shivering as I ran my fingers over the wood. It was colder than ice, wetter than frost, and the edges were splintered, as though something had been scratching at it from below. I told myself not to lift the cover, whispered a warning to my own shaking hands, but I didn't listen. When I lifted it, the smell hit first, rotten, metallic, wet like iron and soil, and something ancient that had been dead for centuries. The darkness inside was absolute, pitch black, empty yet somehow watching. Then I heard the whisper, "Alan." It wasn't just one voice. It was several, layered over each other, echoing from the depths. They called to me, begged, demanded. Wilson's bark snapped me out of the trance, and I slammed the cover shut, heart hammering. But the voices didn't stop. They seeped through the cracks, curling around the trees, slipping beneath the cabin doors, rattling the windows. They whispered my name, whispered rules I didn't know, promised secrets I shouldn't have heard. I had broken a rule. I had tested a boundary, and the well had noticed. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like something moving just beyond the tree line. Wilson wouldn't leave my side. He wouldn't eat. He barely blinked. His eyes stayed fixed on the same corner of the room for hours. When the lantern flickered, I could have sworn I saw something tall and crooked shift in the shadows, stretching, twisting like the forest itself, watching, waiting, breathing. I clutched my grandfather's notebook, the rules, and wondered if they meant anything anymore. Maybe they were just reminders that survival demanded more than caution. The next day, I went into Holton searching for answers, from Carter, the woman from before, anyone, but they all avoided me. Whispers followed me down the street. "That boy, he's already been marked. Shouldn't be meddling with the well. Don't go near it. You'll bring it here." When Carter finally cornered me behind the general store, he didn't mince words. "You opened it," he said. "You looked. You saw." I tried to argue that I hadn't touched anything, but he shook his head. "You did. You were curious. You broke one of the old boundaries. You've been marked now." I didn't understand the depth of his words until I felt it, that weight in my chest, that tug deep in my stomach, like something unseen had hooked itself beneath my ribs. Something was watching, waiting, and then I remembered the last line in the notebook. When winter comes, the rules change. Winter was nearly here, and the well was laughing at me. That night the knocking began again, soft at first, slow, like fingers drumming lazily against the wood. Then it grew louder, relentless, pounding so hard the cabin seemed ready to give in. I didn't answer. I didn't move. But the walls shook, the windows rattled, and the voices came again. One was mine, one was my grandfather's, and one came from the depths of the well. "Alan, come to us." Wilson barked with his teeth bared, but I didn't need him to warn me. I already knew. The rules weren't just instructions, they were a lifeline, and I had snapped mine. I stayed awake all night. Every minute stretched into an eternity. Every sound felt like a threat. Every silence felt worse. When morning finally came, pale and weak, I dared to look out the window. The handprints were back, 2 of them this time. One large, one small, both pressed deep into the porch wood, both pointing toward the well. I didn't need to read the message. I felt it in my bones. Come, it's time. Wilson whimpered and leaned into me as I rested my hand on his fur, trying to steady myself. I didn't know what waited down there. I didn't know if I'd survive meeting it. But I knew one thing with absolute certainty. The well had claimed my curiosity, and if I didn't face it, whatever had been watching would come for the cabin, for Holton, for me. Tomorrow, I would go to the well, and winter was coming.